please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
Look at you.
Wendy Williams has been through it all. But this might be the ultimate betrayal. Her own doctor is now being accused of leaking her private health information, and fans are demanding justice. Even though I don't like to chatter, I'll get you some tea. Greetings from the YouTube channel. I don't have time for gossip right now, please. Yes, I recently rewatched the film I Care a Lot after a few years had passed, and I must say that this film hauntingly parallels Wendy Williams' experiences during the last 3 years of being under guardianship. The movie centers on Mara Grayson, a scammer who works as a professional legal guardian and conspires with the doctor to choose targets for her fraud. The court has determined that you need help caring for yourself. This lady takes advantage of the legal system to get guardianship of affluent elderly people and place them in foster care, conveniences when taking possession of their property. Additionally, things are beginning to fall apart in Wendy's case, exactly as in the movie. People are slowly but surely being exposed for the deceptive actions they took to put Wendy in this predicament, and heads are starting to roll.
Oh, you're in trouble now.
In my most recent Wendy video, we reviewed a letter written by Wendy's former physician, who was also a psychiatrist. In the letter, he claimed that Wendy had been unable to make thoughtful decisions for the previous 6 months, and that her insight and judgment were seriously compromised at the time. This guardianship was initiated by a letter from her previous physician to her account manager. Many of you commented on the video, stating that it appeared to be a breach of HIPAA, and you are 100% correct. What would you answer if I told you that the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights had received a complaint against that physician at that time? This complaint described the sensitive health information that Wendy's previous physician sent to Lori Schiller, her account manager at Wells Fargo. Furthermore, based on what I've been informed, this doctor was not disciplined for breaking HIPAA, which is astounding given how severe such a violation is supposed to be. There are many facets to this case concerning Wendy Williams, but I can assure you that we will see it through to the finish. We will examine everything that is presently happening with Wendy Williams and much more. But before we do, please make sure you press the bell for alerts and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any updates on this topic or any of the many others. Let's return to that now. In May 2022, Wendy Williams' accounts were frozen by Wells Fargo, owing to allegations of financial exploitation and improper influence, and she was placed under court-appointed guardianship. The bank then filed a petition with the court, claiming that Williams was financially exploited, unduly influenced, and disabled. At first, Williams accepted the deal because she thought it would help safeguard her money. She eventually voiced her displeasure, though, believing that the guardianship had become unduly tight and limiting her freedom. I'll tell you something now. If it happens to me, it may happen to you. Williams was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and primary progressive aphasia in 2023. These conditions affect speech and cognitive abilities. Williams's guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, has now declared her legally incapacitated and permanently disabled. Despite this, Williams has challenged the guardianship, claiming she is capable of handling her own affairs and is working to regain control over her life and finances. Speaking of money, one of the primary goals of the guardianship was to ensure Wendy was no longer subjected to financial abuse and improper influence. Wendy Williams has a federal tax debt of over $500,000 in overdue taxes since the guardianship began. 2 years exactly after entering the guardianship. After the former TV anchor was found to be unable, the Guardian sold Wendy Williams' ideal apartment in New York City for a loss. For Wendy, things have been getting worse rather than better. Now, this January 20th, 2022, letter purportedly from, according to Rami Kaminsky of the Institute of Integrative Psychiatry, to Miss Schiller. Miss Williams has been my patient for more than a year. In the last 6 months, she has seriously impaired insight and judgment, which is spelled incorrectly, and she has been unable to make well-reasoned judgments. Regards, Kit Ramey. This section of the letter essentially states that they forbid any discrimination in the delivery of health and human services based on race, color, or sex. and goes into detail about how they enforce the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, also known as HIPAA, in response to a complaint filed with the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Office for Civil Rights, or OCR, in March 2022. The question on the next page is, whose rights to privacy regarding health information do you think were infringed? Wendy is the first name, and Hunter is the last. Who or what agency, organization, provider, or health plan do you think violated your or another person's right to privacy regarding health information or breached the privacy regulation in another way? The individual or agency, organization Rami, last name Kaminsky. The address that I blacked out is then shown. When do you think the privacy rights of health information were violated? The infraction occurred on January 20th, 2022. Briefly explain what transpired. How and why do you think the private rights of your health information or that of others were infringed, or how did another breach of privacy or security regulations take place? The breach likely occurred when unauthorized access to health information was granted, compromising the confidentiality of personal data. This violation trust in the healthcare system's ability to protect sensitive information. Please be as detailed as you can. Add more pages as necessary. On January 20th, 2022, Dr. Kaminsky sent a letter to Lori Schiller, the patient's former employee.
A former doctor, okay, had medical information about me that I never even got. It was sent over to Lori Schiller. So I haven't gotten the stuff. I fired the doctor. And again, all I want to know is, where is my money? This is not right. And certainly, this is not fair.
I think the reason they're using the term employee is because Wendy hired her as her financial advisor years ago. Now, Lori Schiller, the former employee, received this letter allegedly from Rami Kaminsky without the patient's knowledge and consent, the person continues. Now, information on the patient's current therapy was improperly revealed in this letter. A lawsuit is being filed against the patient based on this fraudulently acquired letter. Dr. Kaminsky's activities violate the patient-physician privilege and the HIPAA protections provided to the patient because the patient did not provide permission for him to share her confidential health information with anybody. I won't bore you by reading the complaint consent form, which is covered in the remaining portion of the complaint. Is unfair. Wendy makes use of crucial words. She mentioned former doctor, thus I'm telling you this, and have verified that when he sent this letter to Lori Schiller, this individual was no longer Wendy's doctor. To play devil's advocate, let's speculate that he could have been her doctor at the time. If so, he will first review a clinical evaluation. He will assess her judgment, understanding, and cognitive abilities. Thus, they could do a neuropsychological test or a mental status examination before assessing your risk level. Are you in danger of being taken advantage of financially, physically, or emotionally? Are you a threat to others? Zarania, they design a crisis intervention or safety strategy, might involve a crisis team or suggest hospitalization, which could be either voluntary or involuntary based on your state's regulations. They record and perhaps report. They submit a psychiatric hold, which in California is referred to as a 5150. If you are at risk, they may also report you to Adult Protective Services and start guardianship procedures. Zarania, they may ask the court for a capacity hearing. Finally, they could enlist the help of legal or protective agencies for your family. They could speak with your family members or caregivers to establish a network of support. At other instances, if they think you can no longer securely handle your affairs, they could help begin the process of appointing a guardian or conservator, or they might submit the matter to a forensic psychiatrist for a formal capacity examination. I thus inquired what benefit it would be for Wendy, or for this job, to get in touch with Lori Schiller. I made a video back in August 2022, and we discussed Wendy Williams' medical proxy and how someone in her family, not little Kev, allowed Wendy's manager at the time, Bernie Young, to observe Wendy's private therapy sessions with doctors chosen by Bernie and DeMar Mercury. I also told Wendy Williams' account manager at Wells Fargo at the time that Wendy had been unable to make rational decisions and that her insight and judgment were severely impaired at the time. Now that everything is coming together, to refresh your memory, let's read it together. This individual stated, "Unfortunately, Blank's hatred for Kelvin caused Blank to allow it to occur. For the while that Bernie served as her manager, Blank served as her medical proxy. Blank gave Wendy permission to charge $10,000 for 45-minute doctor appointments each time. Blank gave Bernie permission to see Wendy's private treatment sessions with the physician that Bernie and DeMar Mercury had chosen. Blank gave DeMar and Bernie the last word on any issues pertaining to Wendy's health, so they were watching when you saw her lose it. Additionally, as you may remember, the U.S. Sun reported in early 2022 that Bernie Young had paid $10,000 using Wendy Williams' American Express card to hire lawyer Carolyn Wolfe of the prestigious Abrams Feinerman LLP to seek guardianship of the TV talk star. According to reports, Bernie was detained for his misbehavior and was forced to surrender himself. Give your girl a moment. I'll keep searching even if I haven't been successful in finding the arrest record yet. It goes without saying that Wendy has been the victim of several wrongdoings. Because the court proceedings involving Miss Williams are under seal, Miss Morrissey is restricted in defending herself at this time from all the spurious and defamatory claims and personal attacks being raised against her," said Sabrina Morrissey, who normally cannot say much because the case is under seal. Nevertheless, Miss Morrissey sympathetically denies any wrongdoing, mismanagement, or self-dealing with regard to Miss Williams's guardianship. In order to ascertain whether Wendy Williams is truly incapacitated and whether she has frontotemporal dementia and aphasia, she will now need to undergo medical testing, including an MRI brain scan and a neurological evaluation. The court regulates and oversees all of the activities related to the guardianship that the court appointed. The outcomes of the testing and comprehensive review she receives will guide the course of action in her guardianship case. Wendy wants to ensure that whoever is doing this test for her has no relationship to the judge or the guardian, because she is now so certain that she will be diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and aphasia once more and remain listed as permanently incapacitated. For this reason, she is looking for an independent third-party evaluation. Furthermore, it makes sense since we can plainly observe that certain people are unreliable. The final item I will discuss is TMZ's story that Wendy Williams is circling around due to a medical ailment. According to TMZ, Wendy Williams is attempting to find out more about a possible change in a very serious medical condition, but she claims that her guardian and doctors are not providing her with information. Wendy tells TMZ that the medication she takes for a thyroid condition linked to Graves' disease was recently changed, and no one is willing to explain the change or respond to her inquiries. According to Wendy Williams, the nurse brought in a different colored medication recently, and no one has commented. She is making every effort to determine whether her thyroid problem has improved or become worse. As stated by TMZ, Wendy has attempted to get in touch with both her doctor and her guardian, but to no avail. Given that some people are unreliable, I seriously doubt that the medication is for her thyroid, and if I were you, Wendy, I wouldn't take it. What I need to know is what you think about everything that is happening in Wendy Williams' life. How we do by leaving a comment. We will discuss it below. I'll talk to you all later. Goodbye. Thank you for watching as usual. However, before you leave, remember to press the bell, like this video, and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss any of my next episodes.